Hello, this presentation is about my makerspace lesson. Traditionally, makerspaces are given to kids for science and math activities, but I encountered an article about using writing as a makerspace, and this was just what my classroom is in need of. So I'm going to tell you today about a lesson that I created to make my writing workshop classes into a makerspace. The first thing that makerspace is involved is having collaborative activities. So I am going to use the book The Mysteries of Harris Burdick by Chris Van Ellsberg to use the book's illustrations as a springboard for writing. The book is available as a slide share here. So I'm going to flip over to that to show you how you can use the slide share in your classroom. You can flip through the book on a screen. This will go to full screen if you want, but you'll notice that the slides are all available here, which would be very nice for showing in a classroom. Under the Rug is one of my favorite images. It includes the title of the picture and then a caption that you ask students to use in their writing. So if you're not familiar with this story, it's just fun and it's a great way to get them inspired to do some fictional narrative writing. Another one that is my favorite and traditionally a student favorite is called Uninvited Guest. His heart was pounding. He was sure he had seen the doorknob turn. So the slide share is a good way to share the story with your students because the photos will be large on your screen. I also have several copies that the kids use in my classroom for looking back at. Okay, the next collaborative activity that I'm going to show you is a plot graph, a plot map. So I use this plot map to have students plan out their story. I have large laminated copies of this in my classroom, and I also encourage them to write their events on sticky notes. So as they start putting events down and plopping them along the line, working their way from the opening through the rising action to the climax to the closing events, you can move sticky notes around, which makes this a makerspace in itself because you're tinkering, you're playing with events. Students need to be able to tell good stories in order to write good stories. So we use this plot graph a lot for planning stories and telling stories. As students start developing a story that goes with one of those photos, they can tell it to each other, they can record it as they're telling it. So once you get a good story that is able to be told, it will be much easier for that to go down in writing. The next step in the lesson is going to be some mini lesson possibilities. The lessons, it will take your students probably 2 to 3 weeks to write a well-crafted narrative fiction story. In my plan, I listed several different mini lesson possibilities. It's really going to depend on your students, your kids, what they need, what your curriculum tells them they need. But I have found that Ralph Fletcher has some really great craft lessons, setting the scene, using dialogue, how to teach kids the difference between a bed-to-bed story versus a small moment story, transition words that move time along in story. These are all really, really important lessons. So as you teach a lesson, students can try that idea, and the technology that will allow them to try the activity and collaborate with each other, that I have chosen for my plan is called Write About. Write About is an online writing platform where your students will log in and become part of your classroom. It's a very authentic place to publish because They publish first to their own classroom, and then the teacher can decide that she wants to be able to publish to the general community that's on Write About. It's very easy to navigate, and I wanted to show that to you next. So this is Write About. You can set it up for free. There's a free subscription that you can try out. And I've already tried it with my students. So you're going to see my page. And this is what the students will see. When they come, their name will be there. Let me show you this part up here. This is my home screen. On my account, I can see my class page, which will show me my students. My students have not written anything that has been published yet, but you can see, you can either set up your classes with a manual setup like this, or you can import from Google Classroom. My district does not support Google Classroom, so I cannot do that. My students set up their own, they set up their own user account. This is my teacher code over here. I gave them the teacher code, and then they set up their own account. You can give them this page as a student login page. You could set it as a desktop on a bookmark on your desktop. You could give them the class page, or you can add the students yourself. Down here, it gives you all kinds of ways to publish, ways for you to control. So I have set it up so that I can moderate all the student writing beyond what is shared with me. I have set it so that they cannot publish their writing publicly yet, but I want to be able to see their comments and their posts. So you can see all of my students are set up at the bottom. So I can see what they've written, I can see their username, I can see their passwords, any of that stuff. So the best part of it is the create an idea. So if you want to create an idea for yourself, all you need to do is upload an image. This is going to go to my desktop. I'm going to pull up one that I put in already. It uploaded Archie Boy, Boy Wonder. So you enter the title of whatever image in that title. Could be a question. In this particular case, I am using the title of the picture, and then in the details down here, you can type in whatever details you want for them to do with their writing piece. Now, in my particular case, I have developed all of these ideas. So I'm flipping back. This is my classroom page. So I have set up all of the photos that I want them to be able to use from the book. And I've published them so that they are public, so that you could find them if you wanted to. But students will begin writing their stories in here. So I've pinned them all to my student home. Their screen looks very similar to this screen. They write about them. When they decide they're done, they can either decide to save it as a draft or they can publish it. So these are the overall pieces. As I develop mini lessons, I'm going to put them on as a pin here, because sometimes I just want them to try different things. So for example, on the beginnings, I'm going to teach them how to set the scene. I'm going to teach them how to use onomatopoeia. I'm going to teach them how to use dialogue, all different ways to make beginnings. So I'm going to set those 3 lessons up as ideas. I want them to go in, try it. And then the real joy of this online platform is that students can comment on them. So over here on this section, student comments will come up. Now my students have not commented on anything yet, so I have nothing to click on there. But as they try out skills, other students will have during our share time, they'll be able to go and read those posts, and students will be able to comment, give feedback, give suggestions. So this is exactly the type of platform I was looking for to get my writers an authentic place to publish and to give them authentic ways to give feedback to each other so that we can truly have a writing community. So I have really enjoyed learning about this makerspace and can't wait to try it out with my class.